All right, so Kenny, welcome. What I've been trying to do is, have you heard of BarberView TV?
No, tell me
Okay,
about it.
so BarberView TV, he was the guy who was live streaming the CT Barber Expo this year in 2023. And I've been working with him and he's been trying to create different content. So I'm like, man, I've been wanting to work on a podcast for barbering, coming from a different angle. I know a lot of podcasts are done by barbers for
Okay.
barbers, but I've been in the barber industry and I'm one step outside of it because I'm not an actual practicing barber. So what I want to do is I
Okay.
want to talk about the first time you ever cut someone's hair. When did you first cut hair? What was your first go
Uh,
around?
so I was my first victim. So it started with me being very hairy as a kid and growing up in a poor household, whereas my mom
Hmm.
couldn't afford to give me haircuts often. And there's one particular day I was getting haircuts for school pictures. My mom sent me to the barbershop with 20 bucks. Haircuts was only $10 on this time. I came back with 8. And the reason why is because the barber decided to shape up my mustache without asking me and then telling me he charged me $2 extra for going zzz. And I'm like,
What the?
it is what it is. Like I can't argue with the
Right,
guy
right,
about the price point,
right.
but I had to pay it. I came home $2 short. Long story short, my mom thought I stole from her. $2 was hard to come by during this time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she was enraged the fact that this guy charged me $2 for my mustache. So she bought me a pair of battery operated trimmers so that I could do my own. Well, because I didn't get a
Mm,
haircut often, the guy will also make my front hairline lean like
mm.
like from the beginning because that's how I naturally grew. But I actually wanted it straight, so I would redo my front hairline after getting a fresh haircut, then keep my outline done to make it last longer because I was only getting a haircut once a month. And from there, that gave me the practice of the outlining. This all happened when I was in 6th grade. So fast forward to
Wow.
high school, my best friend during that time was named McQuill Bird. He was a barber at that time, and he wanted me to cut his hair down. So he's the first person that taught me how to cut hair down evenly, wave pattern, and fun facts. Once I mastered it, one of the earliest pictures that I've ever had that gone viral during that time was through Solid Gold magazine. There's a picture of me with hair with a sharp haircut on Quill that's in the Solid Gold magazine. And that picture means a lot because if it wasn't for him, I actually wouldn't have even ventured on to even have the confidence to cut other people. Because prior to
And
that, I was only cutting myself.
and let me ask you a question just to stay on this topic. How did you progress from one stage to another? Because you're going from lining up your mustache to lining up your front line. How did you do that? Because today, if I was to ask that question, people will tell me about their favorite YouTuber, their favorite educator. What did you do to progress from one step to the other? How did you learn?
It was actually sitting in a barbershop.
Okay.
Quill had a good friend of his that became a good friend of mine named Kyle Johnson. K Sharpton, one of the dopest barbers that's underground even to this day that a lot of people don't know about, but I have a high respect for him. I would go into the barbershop. It was called Cameo Barbershop where they worked at and just watch them cut all day. And I would mimic some of the things that I learned from watching them in that space. And they set the standard really high for me. And they let me
Mm,
know what I needed to live up to. Then it fast forward to the big bro of all of us is a gentleman named P. Michael. P. Michael, that you guys know, during
mm,
that time, he was working at a shop called Peasy Heads. And he was the big bro for all of us that set the tone for back in the day, when haircuts were $10, he was making 2,000 a week cutting hair. And we were
wow.
like, this is the guy. Fun fact, he was the first guy that I bought a car off of with haircutting money when I was in high school. So I didn't even go on my prom because I saved my money. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to be catching a bus and then going to prom. That
No.
progression of that friendship circle caused us all to be very detail oriented, successful barbers because we push each other, whether it be entrepreneurship, whether it become the art of actually loving to cut hair and what all came along with
Now,
it.
where you made the progression to become a barber, what did that look like? Was it an apprenticeship? Was it barber's college? What was that step to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this full time and go into business doing this?
First thing I would say is I didn't even love cutting hair. It was something I was doing on the side. I said I was going to be an
Mm,
engineer or the accountant.
okay.
So in my aspirations, it was cut hair just to get me through college. And from there, I was going to end up just using it as a side hustle. I never loved cutting
Right.
hair. It was in 2001, after my second year at Temple University, that I actually took a break from school because the Twin Towers got hit. And the day I was registering for my third year, they evacuated Temple University and they said,
Wow.
hey, like all government buildings have to be evacuated. I didn't even know Temple was associated with the government at that time. I thought it was private funding. They say, listen, we don't know. America's under attack. Evacuate. I took it as a sign for me to take some time off. I was going through some things personally with just having my first child. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I need to really figure out what I want to do. So I started focusing on barbering a lot more. And then I was like, you know what? I need to focus on actually becoming legit, because this is not going to be a side hustle at this particular point. And then a DJ that I was working with at the time named DJ Active, he introduced me to Music Soul Child. And then that's when that hit me. I was like, people really love what I'm doing. And celebrities now know what I'm doing. I want to become legit with this one. Wayne Kauser, my business partner today, started me off with an apprenticeship so that I can actually
Okay.
acquire my hours. We started my hours back in 99, but at this
Right.
particular time, I said, no, I'm going to lock in and be serious about it. So I spent some
Yeah.
time at Tri-City Barber School, learning
Right.
under Miss Hill. I didn't graduate from there because I didn't need the documentation from the school. I only went to
Right.
school for the actual book work, because doing an apprenticeship didn't give me the fullness of what I needed. It only gave me the documentation. So I did go to Tri-City for a little bit and working under Miss Hill. And then from there, just continue to build like a rubber band ball. Like little bits of information I get from different people have all collectively culminated to today.
You went from barberings on the side, 9/11 happens, you make that move and take it full steam ahead, get your hours, go to barber college, study. Now you're working in the shop. So what was the next step in your progression?
First step was to save my money to buy a house, and
Okay.
I accomplished that. I did that without any other funding. I just focused on staying in the barbershop, working mad hours, being disciplined, saving money. Me and wifey make sure that we saved our money collectively. Ended up buying a house and bought that from a share sale, renovated, took time, all out of pocket money, just barber money. Simultaneously, I was tired of all the barber posters that existed in the barbershop, because none of them looked like the pictures I would take of my clients or what my clients would ask for. And the Barbershop one movie came out, and I seen that the barber posters that was in my shop was in the movie too. So that's what let me know that there's not many barber posters out there, period. So I started collecting pictures, and we had the aspirations of making a barber poster, but my picture quality was trash.
Mm.
My uncle Reggie, award-winning wedding photographer, I went to him. I said, hey, listen, I got this idea. Let's collaborate.
Mm.
And me, him, and my partner Wayne came out with this business called Above and Beyond Hairstyle Guides. And we started creating barber posters. First, it was just me and his pictures of our haircuts. Then it evolved to
What gave you the audacity to think? Because I know that this isn't coming from an outside source. This is coming from something inside of you. You're watching this. You see a hole in the market, right? These photos don't exist. The reality
yep.
of what it is not there. What gave you the audacity to think, you know what, I can take it, I can be the one. I'll be the one. I'll go that
Because it
level.
didn't
What was
exist.
that? Because it
Because it
didn't
just didn't
exist.
exist. Once I went to go see Barbershop One, and I seen the same posters, and I looked at it. The posters were made in Chicago by somebody who was working at Wall. It was a guy named
Okay.
Adams Posters. Isidore Adams was the guy responsible for all the posters that were dominant in the world, because Wall was giving them out for free. I didn't know that at the time. So my bright idea was to create a poster and sell it. And I didn't know that Wall was giving them out for free for marketing purpose. So created the barber poster. First one, that was just me and my partner Wayne's. The second one, my uncle took the picture for as well. So we did two of them with my uncle doing the photography. But it was hard trying to get my schedule, my partner's schedule, the barber we're charging for advertisement, and then their model, and then the makeup artist. Trying to get all those 5 people to synchronize their schedules was hard. So I said, you know what? I need to learn how to do photography, because I have the eye. I just missed the quality of
Right.
the lighting and the lens and the
Yeah.
insight on how to do it. So my uncle Reggie taught me everything I know about photography. Sidebar: one thing people don't know about me is that because of him teaching me, I actually moonlighted as a wedding photographer. My content is still up there. If you ever go to kduncaninc.com, you'll see my old price list. Don't anybody ask me to hire to do a wedding for. Those price lists are way outdated, just so you know.
Right.
But the gallery is still up there where you can see wedding photos that I took myself and a lot of other things that I took. It was cool for that season. But we took that information, created our third poster, and then from there it evolved into a magazine. So once we had 3 posters in the magazines, now it's time to come to the hair shows. So in 2003 or 4, I started coming to the hair shows, setting up a booth, and that's the first time I met Major League Barbers. Hit it
Mm.
off. Didn't even know they're from Philadelphia. Hit it off with these guys. They're doing a lot of stuff. That's when I find out that Solid Gold is working with these guys. And I was already in Solid Gold. There's synergy, there's love, representing Barber Love. So now I have a platform coming to the show at my booth. And then I have
Love it.
notoriety by way of Major League Barber because they already stamped what was being done in Philadelphia. They're
Mm.
bottling it up in educational videos, selling it. And they're like the guys on all the competitions at every major trade show. So join forces. Next thing you know, I got a chance to be the liaison to help Andis be the corporate business partner with Major League Barber.
Now,
And
wait, I want to pause you there because as you are navigating through this, there's something significant that's happening because you're not going, okay, I cut 10 heads. I got to get 30 customers. I got 100 customers. I need to open up a barbershop. I got to go to the next barbershop. You're making left turns, right turns. And then when you get to the hair show, you're doing all this. So, what do you think? What are some of the things that you looking back going, man, there was some, like, I'll give you an example. So, I'm an entrepreneur now, right? And I love watching Shark Tank. And I watch Shark
one of
Tank
my
all the
favorite
time.
shows,
One of my favorite shows, and I watch it with my kids. I remember P. Diddy had a show on MTV. It was like Work for Diddy. And
making the
he
band.
had these making the band, and he had them doing stuff for him. Go over here, get this MP3 file. And I knew a little bit about technology, and I used to watch that. And then Donald Trump had the Apprentice
Apprentice,
program.
one of my other favorite
There's a
shows.
right, and then there was the Prophet. So when I watch those shows, I look back and I go, man, because I would then watch it with other people that aren't entrepreneurs, that are just workers. They just go, they
There's a
just want
disconnect.
overtime. There's a disconnect. And then I realized looking back, I go, you know what? I really love these shows. And that was my desire to be an entrepreneur. Even though I was working 9 to 5, that hidden desire was there. So if you had to look back at your situation, what made you go, wait a minute, photography, posters? I'll take the posters to the hair shows. What made you go this route instead of this kind of school, barbershop, own a shop, that kind of thing?
Honestly speaking, I always looked at myself to be different. I was grew up as an introvert. I wasn't one that was out in the public. My grandma, who raised me most, she's the one that taught me how to be reserved, think things through. If anything, is one of my biggest issues is I procrastinate because I think so much and I want to make sure things is right. And if I don't feel as though it's right or suitable to my skill sets at that time, then I had to make a decision. Do I want to add that skill set so it can actually help something later as a building block? And I just went through those challenges because within 2 years of cutting hair in the shop, I became frustrated. I said I was going to quit and retire. I didn't want to be a
Mm.
barber. So I said to myself, I'm just going to quit. I'm not going to do this. I need to do something different from something else. So
Okay.
between cutting hair in the music studios, Mama's Boy's studio was where Music Soul Child recorded a lot of his hits. And that became my second barbershop outside of
Mm.
the actual barbershop itself for some
Mm.
time now. The guys named John Barber, DJ Active, and Music Soul Child had me cutting hair inside of the studio a lot.
You know what's interesting in your story is, but your mom did that for you, right? When the cost came up for your mustache, instead of your mom going, I didn't like that, don't ever do it again, she came with a solution. She said, no, here
Yep.
goes these clippers. You're going to do it
Yep.
yourself now.
Yep.
So she gave you that. You got to think differently. It started there in a sense.
Yep. Exactly. So when I came to shows, I wanted to sell my product first.
Mhm.
Then I seen people standing on stage and I said, I want to do that one. But I also seen through Major League Barber people competing. And before that, I never even had a desire for it. But I said, you know what? I want to compete. I want to put on my resume and compete and apply to one of these companies to see if they hire me so that I can stand on stage and actually educate as well. Fast forward to February 2005, I entered the barber competition in Atlanta. I ended up winning. First place, didn't even know I was going to win. And then Andis offered the person who won an opportunity to be a representative for 1 year. So fast forward to February 2006, I was supposed to be done. But by that time, I built so many different relationships and brought other value to the table with me doing the posters and the hairstyle guides
And
that
did
built
that,
me.
was that intentional, that relationship building, was that intentional or did it just happen because of your personality?
I think it just happened because it wasn't
Okay.
intentional. Like I did love Andis already. My Andis Master was already one of
Right.
my favorite tools. So the name of the competition was called the Andis Fade Master, and I just wanted to join into it. But I was motivated by my second love, which was boxing. During that time,
Mm.
my belief was that in boxing, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best in order for you to wear the title to say that you're the best. Sidebar.
Mm,
Today, there's no respect for the previous generation or who even is the best.
mm,
And nobody wants to compete and beat anybody to wear the crown of being the best. So
right.
currently, to this day, I do not subscribe to the title of the best barber because just like modern day boxing, everybody ducks everybody. In modern day barbering, there isn't anybody beating the best to wear the title of being the best. It's just a lot of self proclaiming of being the best. What I wanted to
Mm.
do during that time was compete against who was known to be the best at that time to see where I rank at, because I can't just go based off my client's testimony that I am the best. So put myself in a situation, beat individuals, and then from there, be able to document it on my resume to prove who I am and not just by the judgment of other people.
That's extremely important because there is a lot of hair shows, barber battles, conventions, things like that. And people come away with a trophy from Joe Schmo's barber battle down the street. And their shop is full of trophies that they cost $4 when they made them $35 for the big one. And there's really no real competition because, like you said, they're not competing against the best. That's a major distinction because I see it a lot. I would hope that at maybe CT Barber Expo would be the most elite. That's where the most people compete at one time, but not even the best barbers go there to compete.
Too many
Today.
people are trying to protect their reputation. So none of the elite consistently want to put their titles on the line and compete against one another because of the fear of what would take place or something afterwards. Because everybody's gravitating towards the wins, but everybody
Mhm.
shies away from the losses. But I believe the losses build character. So I have a different perspective because of how I grew up and even like I said, my affinity for boxing. So Bernard Hopkins was one of my favorite because he didn't duck anybody, he fought
Yes,
everybody,
yes, yeah.
even though he's taking losses. In my
Right.
opinion, he's still one of the best because he went out and fought all of the best at the time that they were the best in their weight divisions. Now,
Yeah.
for me, people will argue that Floyd Mayweather is the best,
Mhm,
and that's because of how many wins he has and no losses.
mhm.
But there's documented proof that can show you that outside of the lightweight division, everybody has been handpicked. And majority of the guys that he's fought in the weight class that they fought, he wasn't fighting the best in that weight class at that
Right.
time. The most popular.
Right.
Now it works for money. People are following that pattern because now the best barber is the one with the most followers. The most it's a popularity thing and not necessarily
Mhm.
a skill based thing. So
No,
that's
and
what
I
we're.
feel you. Like I said, I can respect what Floyd Mayweather did, but I do feel like people were just like, that seems like it's coming out of nowhere. But the reality is, I don't like to watch a Floyd Mayweather fight necessarily because it's not exciting. Like I grew up on Mike Tyson, and when you was watching a Mike Tyson fight, you couldn't go to the bathroom. I remember waiting all night for the pre-fights, and then finally you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go use the bathroom." He's starting, you come back, fight's over. I
Fight will
actually
be
like
over.
I like the new kid Tank because his fights are exciting and he's knocking people out. And with Mayweather, it was never like it was like, nah, I'm gonna be up to 2 in the morning watching this fight, and he's gonna have good defense. But it was like period. There was no other thing you could anticipate for the fight. His goal was make as much money as possible through
Yeah,
the
but
fight.
don't take me wrong. I do believe technically
True,
as fighters, we've got
for
a chance
sure,
to witness. So I don't want to take it as hate, but
exactly.
I don't want to give too much credit because of what I know have been the strategy that he used
Yeah, yeah.
to
But like you said, the strategy was make as much money as possible, not
yes,
necessarily fight the best fights as possible. Like Muhammad Ali didn't play that. Muhammad Ali went in the ring. He wanted to know who was the biggest fighter, boxer. And either, oh, he's too slow. I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. Put me in the ring with him. Things like that. So I think there was definitely a different aspect. And so getting back to you're competing, you met with Andis, you win, you get 1 year with Andis, and that turns into what, 10 years with Andis?
no, I'm beyond that. That was February 2005. We're at 23 right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're at
yeah, that's a
23
long
right now.
time.
So
And
yeah.
throughout that time, at what point did you say, let me open a shop?
Well, I did open up shop
Okay.
before we're gonna
Okay.
end this. So My business partner, Wayne, we came up with an opportunity where it just fell in our lap. We were working at somebody else's barbershop. He was a manager. I was a third key. We came into a discrepancy with the owner, who was not blood family, but family. We bumped heads on small ideas. When I look back at it, like, it's so nominal, so small,
Yeah.
but we couldn't work together anymore because we just grew apart. So we opened up a barbershop right across the street because it was pretty much handed to us. 1/3 the rent, through a client of mine, was one of my good friends to this day. And it was through the lineage of Primp and Pamper, which was a legendary salon in the Philadelphia area for almost 30 years. They had closed down one of their buildings. So literally, I was able to inherit a space that was already laid out to be a salon, but it's been closed for 10 years. And it was right across the street. And it came out of necessity. The power had got shut down on the one side of the block because of issues with the city. So that calls me on a Saturday morning to actually have a need. I called the owner of Pepper Pamper. I said, hey, listen, you have 51 stations in your building. You right now have about 20 employees. I only have 8 right now that need a place to work just for today. He came to me, told his manager to open up 21 for me. I thought he was talking about station 21 because he has 50 in his one building. Didn't know that during their heyday, they had 3 buildings on the same block that were pumping because of how massive their business was.
Wow.
So they took me across the street to open up 5221 as a hidden gem that later became my first salon, which was Manufacturing Unisex Salon. So that's how that happened. That happened in 2003. And then it was in 2005 that I started working with the Andis company. Everything's like stair steps, small stair steps, and everything can continue to progress. And even to this day, things still work in that same capacity.
That's so important that people understand that things come as a progression. I listened to Bishop T.D. Jakes one time. He said, step 1 prepares you for step 2. Step 2 prepares you for step 3.
Yes.
Step 3 prepares you for
Yes.
step 4. Step 4 does not prepare you for step 12. So when you go from step 3 to step 9 to step 11, each one is a progression, and it has to happen in that progression, which is why I'm so interested in understanding your progression. And then when did you have your shop by? What year was that?
That was in September of 23.
So 2003,
Yeah,
so for
September
20 years, you've had your shop. That's where I want to get into some of the business side, because how do you manage with always stepping out and working with Andis and having that communication level? How do you manage that?
I
Deal with
don't.
that?
Here's the reason why. I'm a self-aware man. I know that out of all the things that I am, I'm not the greatest manager.
Okay.
So I read a book called The E-Myth, and it talks about the 3 different hats that business owners have to wear at first, because you do everything. You're going to be the manager, the operator, and the entrepreneur. And the way that it works is the manager thinks in the past, the operator thinks in the present, and the entrepreneur thinks in the future. So entrepreneurs, how can I make things bigger, better, brighter, faster, stronger? Operators is, once I find my groove, don't mess me up, turn my favorite music on, playlist. I'm the most valuable person to the business because all the interactions of cash flow comes through me. I'm the most important part of the business. That's the mindset. And then the manager is like, hey, nope, you got a lot of processes that are wrong, because when we think about the past, you did this wrong and it messed up business. We did this right. We need to keep this. So we need to input a policy to make sure that this works. And we want to make sure that we have another policy to make sure we don't go back to this again, so that we can focus on the best practices that we can have within business. And then the manager and entrepreneur bump heads, because as soon as the manager gets things set, the entrepreneur says, you know what? I want to change things.
Yeah.
Let's make things bigger, better, brighter, faster, stronger. And then the operator, he's like, bro, why are you trying to change things? I got a flow, and y'all not even listening to me about what works, because I'm the one that's in touch with the people. So what I realized is that I'm a better operator and entrepreneur than I am a manager, because I thrive in figure out how to make things bigger, better, brighter, faster, stronger. And because of that one, I have a need to be a part of systems that can allow me to plug in to be a great operator or a great entrepreneur to help create things. So therefore, my relationship with Andis works. I don't have to be the manager. I don't have to run the daily operations. My shop.
What made you realize that you were more of an operator, entrepreneur, and not a manager?
The first time I had with clients, my clients love the way I cut, love the detail that I place into a haircut. Love the ingenuity that I provided to changing up hairstyles and making sure I stayed up things new. So I knew that I thought forward. I knew that I was creating a present. But when it comes to time management, when it comes to understanding how to best interact with people, so like that, those are the things that I failed at often, even though for several years I've had a healthy, thriving clientele. But my biggest issue was people will always say either I wasn't on time or situations where I took too long on a haircut. There was an idea that I had to focus on being in the moment and thinking about how to make things better more so than I was of thinking about what I did wrong or what I did right and how to keep it. So from there, I knew I had to incorporate online booking for the purposes of adding the strategies and better administration. I had to incorporate leaning on my business partner's strengths to help keep order so that we would brainstorm about ideas and he would be the best one to help implement the ideas versus just having the ideas, and allows for us to be like that the partners in crime to be able to make things flow smoothly because not too many barbershops have lasted for 20 years,
Right.
especially shops that of our size. We went from a 3-chair barbershop to a 6-chair barbershop to an 8-chair barbershop to expanding to 12, then expanding to 18, then down to 13, but now
Right.
having a training academy that's inside of the same bigger location. So there was progressions even with that, but that only happens with knowing how to do what I do best, allow him to do what he does best, and also hiring somebody to be the actual manager of the shop as well.
It's incredible because you didn't even want to do this. And here you are opening the shop, training, working with
Mhm.
clipper companies, and just really expanding on that. That's incredible. So, talk to me a little bit about that. I know part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation was, and now I know why you have some online booking and why you went with creating your own website. And that's why I asked you when you opened up your shop, because you opened up your shop in '03. These technology companies hadn't hit till about 2015,
Mhm.
2013. I would say Instagram came 2012, and that's what really opened the door for a lot of other technologies to come out and build on top of that. So when these other companies come out, and I call them by name, things like Booksy and Stylesy, all of that, why didn't you jump on saying, "Hey, I know I have a problem with management. My customers tell me about time management. I need to implement it. Let me just jump on this app in order to handle those management issues."
The first company that I utilized was a company called Gymbook, and it was very successful for me, very
Right.
beneficial for me. And I want to say that I was one of the earliest barbers to actually rely on an online system when
Mhm,
they weren't popular. I think their biggest thing was working with the beauty field. I joined on board.
mhm,
When I'm teaching for Andis, I want to say it was at the second Barber Expo I'm teaching there. I already been using Gymbook for some time, and Reserver approached me after
mhm.
my presentation of me
Okay.
talking about how I had these issues with management and how I
Mhm,
rely on an online system. So I
mhm,
created a partnership with them during that time as a result of it. And then fast forward, they fell off because
mhm,
of not actually evolving with the times. One of my mentors told
mhm,
me you have to embrace change or die. One of the things that they were missing was the ability to be able to customize things. The thing they did well, the other companies don't. And the thing that you do well is allowing for people to brand their business with their booking instead of
mhm,
joining a community that refers your clients to other people. Because I spent a lot of time learning how to market through working with Andis, through working with S Curl, and now working with American Crew. There's opportunities for me to learn how big corporations run their business from the divisions of market management, operator, and entrepreneur, right? So I'm learning those different roles that fall under those umbrellas, how to do it on a bigger scale through those partners. That's a part of the steps, the progression in life. And when I'm seeing those things, I'm like, okay, I get it.
You said working with Andis helped you with your marketing. So give me 2 or 3 tips that you learned.
One thing I learned is that you have to be able to put your money where your mouth is. If you've created a product that you believe in, you have to have the ability to spend money to market that thing as well. Because once you create something,
Mm,
it's worthless until somebody else has a desire to actually own that very thing.
right.
So you have to market it just as much as you put things out there. We're talking about at this point a company that's been around for over 100 years. I
Yeah.
consider them to be like a big cruise ship that even through a lot of tough storms, they've been able to survive
Mhm,
where smaller companies can move quicker, like jet skis. but they're not designed to be able to withstand the bigger waves that come with those big storms. So I've learned how to be patient. I've learned how to dive deep on something that you believe in. Even if you make a mistake, there's a sense of taking accountability and actually focusing on fixing that mistake and still doubling down that you have something good and quality. And those are things that I've learned from working with the Andis company, just like invaluable, because those are life lessons that work in business and in personal life.
And important what you said earlier about not only investing in the product itself, but then investing in the marketing of said product and not just
Yes.
relying on past knowledge of the company. No, this is a new thing that we're doing. We got to promote this thing.
Mhm.
It's not just living on the legacy of what we used to do. And I think that's what happens a lot when we do apps for people is they think that the app is now going to solve all their problems. And I'm going, you do have to market the app itself, not just market the shop or a new haircut or a new service. The app in of itself, there has to be a marketing campaign behind it as well. If you look at Chick-fil-A, they're a big corporation, but when they put out an app, it's not just about come to our new location. This is our new sandwich. It's about this is the app. Get the app itself. You know what I mean? And that's significant. And I know that you've been using the app, and in the last year, you've gotten 3,500 downloads of your app. And I know that I asked this question to Ivan Zoot. If you had to choose between if I book it and put a deposit down, or do I book it and pay the full amount? I chose my day, my time. I put my name, number, and email in there. I'm now confirming. Do I
I'm
whip
about
out
to
my
ruffle some
card?
feathers. So before I say this one, what works for me based off of who my target audience is.
Mhm.
But I do believe that how we conduct business will determine what type of customer we offend or don't offend. Right. So I like to be like a sniper when I'm picking out the type of client that I'm going for. And the mindset of the client that I'm going for is one that has a higher credit rating and is not accustomed to putting the deposit down. So if I ask my clients to put a deposit down, what I'm communicating is I don't trust that you're going to follow through with making sure I get paid because you're disrespectful. So
Mm.
therefore, that's a client I don't even want. Right. Nobody wants
No,
that client. I get that.
no.
But what I want to do is I don't want it to offend the clients that I do want who are not accustomed to that one. Because a large amount of the corporate partnerships that I have don't pay immediately and don't put a deposit down.
Mm.
So in order for me to do business, like for instance, there was a barber that I sent a job to that was working for Transformers, right?
Mm.
We were doing a Transformers press and I sent a job to a barber that can cover for a day for me. And the statement was, hey, we're paying a net 60, meaning that we're not paying for 2 months later.
Mm.
Charge whatever you want, but you're going to get your payment in 2 months. And the
Mm.
barber wasn't in a position to say, hey, I can do the job because of what they was going to lose for today. And for me, that's been my life. A
Mm.
large amount of my life outside of the barbershop is waiting to get paid. So therefore, I don't ask for a deposit because I'm dealing with trustworthy individuals. And I want to make sure I'm still dealing with a trustworthy individual. So a net 30, 45, 60, or 90 is when a company would say, you do your work today, you become registered as a vendor in our system. And within 30 days, we have that time frame to pay this invoice.
Mm.
But it may be net 45, which means 45 days of pay, or net 60, meaning 60 days of pay. Because out of all things, the barber and the stylist typically aren't the highest level of what needs to get paid, but you can actually charge whatever your day rate is for
Mm.
that time. So I may not work for an entire day. I may do one haircut within a day and I can charge what some people may make in a week, but I may not get paid for 60 days.
Yeah, that's the other part of the industry. And that's the thing I like to having this conversation with you because you're telling people about the part that they don't know. They know Kenny Duncan cut Adonis Creed, and they know that Kenny Duncan cut the 76ers. They don't know that he may be waiting a while and building a relationship in a particular way, that he's not just raking in all the dough in the beginning.
So I'll tell you about this weekend, itself. The most popular or most viewed haircut I've done to date. I've yet to get paid for it yet, but I know that I will. And it's going more viral in a short amount of time than both Creed movies and the
Mm.
front cover essence that I did. And that was me working with a music artist named Zayn Malik, who
Okay.
was formerly from the group One Direction.
Okay.
And his music video, which I was a barber for, just came out this past Friday. And all the marketing leading up to it has already gathered together almost a 500 million views from every platform collectively within a short time frame. I'm like,
Mhm.
I've never been a part of something like that. Now, if I was the type of person to say, hey, you need to give me a deposit prior to, I wouldn't be a part of that amazing story. And I will
Mhm.
be paid what I need to get paid more. So the second thing
Absolutely.
was Joel and B just got married this weekend. I was able to have that experience where I'm able to meet a lot of different individuals or
Right.
build the relationship, deepen the relationship with a lot of individuals this weekend, just because I'm there to cut the MVP to get his first ring, which is his
Mhm.
wedding ring.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully he'll get another in
Yeah.
sports, but I got a chance to cut him during a time that was very important to him to get his
Yeah.
first ring. And that was cool. But at the reception, I got a chance to enjoy this time with 4 billionaires. And
Wow.
they say that, your environment will dictate exactly what you end up leading to. So once again, if I ask for a deposit prior to, I wouldn't be
Mhm.
invited to be in these spaces that I think are worth more than what I will get paid for the grooming that I did.
No, 100%. No, that's powerful. And I think that's important because people have come to me and talked about, but what if I want to charge a deposit and nobody wants for someone to book with them and then that individual not show? But like you said,
True.
because
And
you're
that's a
you're even
valid point.
that is a
It's a
valid
valid
point.
point.
And you're on a totally different side because you're saying that you're picking your customer where most people are trying to get the customer to pick them. So that's interesting. When did that transition happen? Because at some point you were looking for anybody to choose you, and now you're choosing them. Talk to me about that.
So early on in my career, I earned the title of being one of the best in the city. So I became very popular quick because of how much time I dedicated to a precision haircut. So within 2 to 3 years of grinding and marketing myself or putting myself out there, and I'm going back to MySpace. I took the skill set that I learned from Uncle Reggie of taking pictures. I took the skill set I learned from Quill and Kyle and P. Michael of doing great haircuts, and I combined it all together to do a haircut and picture. So when everybody was looking for profile pictures for their MySpace page, I would tell them, pay for the haircut. I'm going to give you a quality picture, but you're going to promote me on your profile. So your profile is going to, on MySpace, has to say who the barber is and my phone number so that when people look at your profile picture, they want a profile picture that looks like that, but it's going to market
Mhm.
me. So I spent a large amount of time marketing myself in strategic ways early on through social media and in person. That allowed me to become really busy. So then my next step was when I incorporated online booking, then I was able to have people funnel and booking their appointments further out. And then once that started getting too much, because now when I allow anybody to book,
Yeah.
a lot of my consistent clients that I really have a good relationship with were frustrated that the times that they wanted wasn't available. So then I came up with this concept that I have tier one, tier two, and tier three appointments that I have set for my clients. And what I did was I text all my clients that I put on tier one, which is clients that I had for a long period of time, individuals I had a great conversation with, individuals that respected my business practices, individuals that I just thoroughly enjoyed cutting their hair. I sent all of them text messages first and said, hey, do you want to book a weekly or bi-weekly appointment with me, same day, same time? It'll be your reoccurring appointment. They
Mm.
said yes. I went through everybody I put on a tier one first, and then everybody who was on tier two, I sent them a text. Hey, I have these time slots available if you want to make a reoccurring appointment for these times. It's December 3rd. So tier three was all the clients that I would be frustrated on cutting because if their haircut would take longer. I wouldn't want to cut them on Friday at 6 o'clock because it's prime time. I want to make sure that every minute is valuable. So if I can cut you at Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning when nobody wants to book, then I would love to cut your hair during this time. Here's the time that I have left over. So I quickly became a very consistently busy barber because of the business I did outside of just allowing the appointment system to do the work for me. So that was the entrepreneurship of thinking of ways to do things differently. But the managerial side was already done by the online appointment booking. And all I needed was the ability to set reoccurring appointments. So from there, it became really hard for me. So that drove my value up because with economic that we learned in college was supply and demand really helps drive the price point up. So if I don't have that many slots available, the slots that I do have available now come at a higher price point. So consistently over the years, I've been able to raise my prices of my haircuts because I lacked availability. So because I started lacking availability and more people started wanting me, because the more you're unavailable, the more people just psychologically want to be with you. And they value it more because it's hard to get. It's like a sneaker in a specific colorway that only has 300 that's in print because not everybody can get that one. The value now goes higher.
Right. Of course. No, listen, everything is funny. When I talked to Ivan Zoo, I had a similar experience where when I talk with younger barbers, they're a bit scattered and they're like, nah, they better respect my time and things like that. Where he comes from a totally different angle. It's not about my time, it's about their time. And I'm gonna meet them where they are. And you come from this angle of instead of saying, oh, I want customers to find me on Google Maps and SEO and Yelp and all of that. You're going, I'm looking for my customer. I'm looking for so it's definitely when I talk to an OG or I talk to someone who's been doing this for 15, 20 years, the mindset is completely different. And that's what I hope that people are able to get from this kind of barber business podcast to be able to say, man, let me look at someone who's, I'm at the beginning, they're at the end. What have they learned through that process?
Yeah, here's a couple gems.
So
I realized, here's a couple gems I was to think about. I realized that being a part of communities was going to help build my barber community, being in my client community. So me being associated with the church, me being associated with basketball, me being associated with music, that allowed me to have multiple communities built together to have people desire to sit in my chair because of me being social in those communities. So it allowed for me to attract different people from different walks of life. Now with so many people now wanting to actually patronize my business, then I can start refining it every time I go up, So every time I had a price increase, I would print out a letter with a discount card for whatever the price I went up so that people can get 2 discounts for the next haircut. And I would give them a letter 30 days ahead of time and say, hey, listen, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for supporting my business. Hopefully I will see you again. And they're like, what are you talking about? So when they would read the letter privately, they would see that my price is going up. And then I gave them at least a 2 haircut grace period of the same price point before we actually went up to the next price point. And I noticed that would have some people drop off, but then have other people stay on. And I continued on with that process until where I'm at today, where now my biggest challenge is I don't have enough time to cut hair in the barbershop because of me being requested to cut hair outside of my barbershop more than I'm cutting hair in my barbershop. So now I'm in a position where it's like, I want to still cut hair in a barbershop because I want to keep my hand tight. I don't want to fall off. I want to make sure that I keep myself available for some of my diehard clients that I just love interacting with. I love cutting, but then I also want to maximize my earning potential by a lot of stuff I do outside of the shop. So I have to create a balance of both. And that's what allows me to keep a relationship I had with the 76ers, with the Eagles, as well as with some of the actors, athletes, and artists that I'm working with so that I can continue to bounce it off.
No, that's incredible. So here goes one. I got these cards here, the pod deck, they have interview questions. So we're gonna go on this and then we'll wrap up. This is the last one, and it's like a sidebar. If you could be guaranteed, I want you to think about this. If you could be guaranteed one thing in life besides money, can't be money. If you could be guaranteed one thing in life besides money, what would it be?
I think I value peace more than anything, but I don't know if I would want to guarantee it because sometimes I believe that there has to be good and bad because you won't appreciate the good without having the bad. But the thing that I value most is peace. So I think the idea of if I can have my own way, I think that will be the thing that I ask for because I learned to control what I can control. And there's a lot of things in life that I can't control that have the potential to disturb my peace. And I have the ability to set up parameters so that people can I can limit how much time or how much access something that's disturbing to my peace can actually have to me. I would lean more towards that. But then at the same time, I have an appreciation for peace because of the times that my peace has been disturbed. So it's a hard question to ask because I don't even know if I will choose one thing to have consistently more than anything else. unless I don't know, when I was out in the Hamptons and I was at this event, this wedding, this reception, and I looked at the new owner of the Sixers, one of the older owners of the Sixers, Robert Kraft, and Michael Rubin, who was an ex-owner of the Sixers. I was like, I know all these guys have houses in the Hamptons. Being in the Hamptons was freaking incredible. Like in the space that we were in, not all of the Hamptons, a lot of the Hamptons,
Right.
but just being in a space to have the ability to do what you want when you want to have a, immaculate house like a resort on a beach. I was like, I aspire for something like that one. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I can't ask for somebody else's life or experience. I don't know what they had to, I don't know how much of their peace had been disturbed in order to acquire that. So from the outside looking in, I can say that it's something I want, but then just knowing life in itself, I don't know if
Mm,
I'm willing to sacrifice what they sacrifice to acquire the same things.
mm,
So I'm very comfortable where I am at in life. I think God has allowed me to see glimpses of things to help cultivate what my desires are, what I like,
mhm.
what I don't like, based on what I'm still seeing. And God's still not done with me. He's still increasing my capacities for certain things, give me opportunities to have the ebbs and flows, the ups and the downs to help continue to develop character within me, to help grow me to who he desires me to be. And
Mm.
I'm just in a space where I'm just enjoying that one and it's having peace along along the way. And barbering has been the hugest piece that helped me obtain that peace because it allows me to, my gift of cutting hair has brought me for a large amount of great individuals. I've been able to cut some of the top actors, athletes, and artists in the world on my fourth passport, seeing a lot of different things and allowed me to take care of my family to make sure that they don't have to worry about a lot. But I experienced some challenges. Everything isn't the way I just planned it to be, but I have peace in the process.
Remember, I had Tyreek mic'd up at BarberCon, and he came off the stage, and I would hear people saying, "Hey, man, how can I do what you're doing? I want to do what you're doing." And he'd be like, "What do you mean exactly? You want to do what I'm doing? Do you mean you want to throw on a nice jacket and have a clean haircut and have some nice sneakers and go on stage and speak eloquently to an audience? Is that what you mean?" Because in order for you to get here, I would have to tell you, like, to quit barbering and go work at a school making $18 an hour and come up and build up a school that was failing. That's what I
Yeah,
would have to ask you to do that, but you don't want to do that. You want to stand on stage is what you want to do.
yeah,
That's what you mean, right? Because I don't think you mean quit making $1,500 a weekend, cutting heads and lower your clientele and have your wife go back to work. You don't mean all that. You mean you want to stand on stage and talk. That's what you mean.
yeah.
But they don't know what it means. And so I think that was really powerful, man.
Give
I'm
you an
gonna be
analogy real
good.
quick. I'm gonna give you
Go
an
ahead.
analogy real quick that helps me understand that process of what people want. If life was like rubber, I think that what people desire is to be like a balloon. They would like to be bigger, stretched out, but they have no depth. It is easily popped.
Mm,
When the desire is to be like a rubber band ball, where the reality is, I believe that we were born in God's image. I believe God exists as a triune God. So therefore, I believe we are designed to exist in community, just like He is, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So with that being said, I think is we become our best self when we're in a relationship with other people. So when you have one rubber band with another rubber band, to have multiple rubber bands become a bigger ball, even when a relationship gets cut because some people are seasonal, that ball still has ability to bounce back, has ability to be bounced around, take some of the toughest, roughest environments, and still be to the same size and true to itself. It may not blow up as quick as a balloon does, but it has a lot of durability through some of the tougher times to still remain the same in any circumstance. So I
so
think
good.
there's two different ways in which we look at life. And if we are rubber, I would choose to be a rubber band ball versus just being a balloon.
Oh man, I've heard you talk about the rubber band, but I didn't know the contrast between the balloons. Finally, I would just like for you to talk a little bit about the importance of just branding yourself and having your own app with Efexx apps and why that would be an important step for someone who wants to do online booking. But more importantly, because I try not to stress too much online booking. Yes, we can do that, but more importantly, it's about branding yourself in the app store. If you could talk a little bit to that and we'll wrap up from there. Just the importance of branding yourself and maintaining your brand and having your app in the app store.
Okay. My app is under main attraction unisex salon. That's because that's where I work at. I didn't know that I had 3,500 downloads because the funny thing is I haven't marketed it that much.
Mhm.
That's the interesting thing. So the funny thing is I want people to know that if you track it, you can grow it, because Eric just told me that I'm at 3,500. My next goal is to push that to 5,000. And the goal after that is push it to 10,000 so
Right.
that people can have a way in which they can buy a copy to the book called, should I share it on here?
Yes, sir. Good, good.
Okay. So the book that I'm writing now is called From Disadvantages to Advantages, From Character Flaws to My Best Self. It's a journey through my barbering career and personal life that has a lot of nuggets of wisdom that pertain to barbering business as well as personal business. And I believe that those that do read this book will be blessed by it in many different ways. And it's not just for barbers, but
Mhm.
by way of barbering, a lot of life lessons I've learned through a lot of the people that I've been around, and I'm almost done it. So the
Oh,
ability to
that's
brand
awesome.
the app is beautiful because I can push things like that through the app and other
Right.
platforms.
No, that's awesome. All right, thank you so much, Kenny. I love just talking about the process, where you got to where you're from and where you're at now, because I think a lot of times we look at the end from the beginning, but we don't know the middle, and we got to learn the middle part. And that's what these podcasts are about. That's what the BarberBiz podcast, because you spoke a lot about a lot of challenging things, and even the preparation of just being ready when the electric goes out, being ready to just run across the street and get it popping. And that turned into 20 years of the barbershop. So that's so significant. I love your story. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. You have a good one.
You say